Amanda,
I'm Ben.
we're AutoSave. Welcome to our channel.
Today watching Monogatari Second Season, Episode 13. Last episode, I once again mispronounced Ogi's name. I don't know the correct pronunciation, and I'm sorry. At some point in the near future, I will at least be consistent on it. Also, Nadeko Medusa, let's go! We got introduced to the origin of the white snake, but also what came slightly after it. So I think we're going to be continuing where we left off, but seeing Araragi and Shinobu's point of view.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we're definitely going to be continuing to see the before of whatever we saw at the very beginning of the last episode.
Mm-hmm.
When we come to kill each other or try to kill each other, we're seeing how we get there. And I think it would make sense, since we're seeing kind of the beginning of getting there for Nadeko, that we see the beginning of getting there for Aragi and Shinobu.
Yeah, I definitely still want to keep in mind Hanekawa's disposition or personality, what Hanekawa went through internally, what she overcame internally, and how that could compare and contrast to Nadeko.
Mm-hmm.
But without further ado, you ready?
Yes.
Sweet. Huh. Uh-oh. Is the snake her scrunchie?
Setting the stage.
Find my corpse.
I was expecting like I want you to kill Aragi. Like, I'm like, how do we get there? You know what I mean?
It's a big jump. I think it's just going to be reinforcing a bad habit and a personality within Nadeko, and that's how we're going to get there. Like, we're going to, like, there's a reason that Shinobu classified what we see at the beginning of last episode as a separate oddity, and we are going to watch this combination fuse into one. You just want to be seen. Oh, cool.
Everything's in order because everyone's scared to go out of order. Survival technique. Oh, I love that. I want to go back to that.
Waiting for the other to disappear.
And it's been removed.
Wow. Makes sense. I liked how her body language was lifting up off the bed like a snake.
別に俺様はなでこちゃんに無理強いしているつもりはねえんだけど、あくまでもなでこちゃんの罪悪感をつけ込んでいるだけでな。
遺体を探して見つけるよ。
助かるぜ。礼は言わないがな。
それで口縄さんの死体はどこにあるの？いつ亡くなったの？どれくらいの大きさ？どれくらい古いの？それだ
Wow.
け情報があればもう見つけたも同然だ。
Yeah?
なんでやねん。だよ、そんなの一生かかっても無理だよ。
俺様と同化しているなでこちゃんならすぐに見つけられるはずだぜ。
Like a honing device.
頑張ればすぐにな。
頑張りたくないな。
Putting effort towards
いや、そ
something.
こは頑張れよ。
怪しまれたくないの。
怪しまれる。誰に？
暦お兄ちゃん。
You lied to
何
him.
もなかったってことにしたんだから。
怪しまれたくないじゃなくて心配をかけたくないじゃねえのか？暦お兄ちゃんにあんな嘘をついたんじゃねえのかよ。
それは。
だからだと俺様は思っていたが、違うのかい？
そうだよ。心配をかけたくないの。
じゃあそういうことにしよう。
Let's go with that
昼
then.
間はなでこちゃんの時間、夜間は俺様の時間。分かった分かった。黙ってればいいんだな。おい戦国、お前そんなところで何をしているんだ？ところで戦国、先生が前に頼んでおいたことはどうなった？
どうって。
おい頼むよ。早くあの問題を解決しなきゃいけないことはお前だけが頼りなんだからな。戦国委員長。
Oh.
That's an added
こちゃんっ
layer.
て委員長だったのか？
The class rep would be asked to help the class
嘘だ。
atmosphere.
委員長ってあれだろ？
クラスが変な雰囲気になっているのは口縄さんも分かったんでしょ。2学期が始まるとき立候補も推薦もなかったんだよね。なでこが選ばれたの。
Randomly
どういう
chosen.
経緯？
Such a masochistic expression, short end of the stick.
おまじないに手を出していない女子生徒がなでこしかいなかったから
That makes sense.
かな。
誰もやりたくないし誰にもやらせたくない仕事をなでこちゃんに押し付けたというわけか。
And you accepted.
ろくでもねえ連中だな。ああ、
押し付けられたってわけじゃないんだけれど。
あの先生様がおっしゃっていたのは何なんだ？前に頼んでおいたことってなんだよ？
クラスのあの雰囲気を何とかしろって言われてるの。
Good
結構
call.
前から。
おいおい、なんだそりゃ。それは担任の先生様のお仕事じゃないのかい？
その通りなんだけどね。いわゆる丸投げってことだね。
俺様よりひどいんじゃねえのかそりゃ。見ただけでもあんなもんが一人の子供に解決できる雰囲気じゃねえことはわかるぜ。
Yeah, how would you
ああ
even fix it?
だって別になでこ何もしてないもの。委員長の仕事も先生から頼まれた仕事も何もしてないもの。
Do you just hope that it goes away? No effort?
You always hope the other person will just disappear.
口縄さんは静かになりました。気を読んでくれたのでしょうか。一言も喋りませんでした。その日の夜、口縄さんとの約束通り、口縄さ
I
んの
love
死
it.
体探しに。
I love that shot.
口縄さんの身体をなでこはどういう風に探せば。
その近くを通れば携帯電話のバイブみてえに俺様
Well,
が
that's helpful.
つまりなでこは。
シェシャ、おいおい、早速反応があったぜ。
この砂場に口縄さんの死体が埋まっているっていうの？
ああ、間違いない。
What?
口縄さんがそういうのな
A
ら。
children's
じゃあ
playground.
探してはみるね。ないんだけどご神体。ないんだけど。
うん、どうやら誤作動だったようだな。
The stakes in the steak
Yeah,
silhouette.
right.
もっと早く教えてよ。
俺様の霊的エネルギーが散ってしまっているってことだ。単純にな。
知っている？
So it's
Mm.
hard to pinpoint
とい
it.
うべきかな。箇所くらい当たってみねえかい？
ダメ。疲れた。せっかくだからということで、掘ったいくつかの穴を埋めるだけではなく、小さ
Aww.
な山とか押してしまったのがいけませんでした。
見つけた戦国。
暦お兄ちゃん。暦お兄ちゃん。荒らぎ暦。
Did her parents realize she left the
夜
house?
中なのに散歩でしょうか。
いいか戦国、お前がやったことはな、激怒されてるようなことなんだぜ。夜中に家を抜け出てふらふらと遊んでいるなんて。
なでこの家出に気づいたお父さんとお母さんが心当 りとしてかけた月日ちゃんは月日ちゃんですから、大丈夫だよ、一晩くらいにうちに泊まっていますなんて嘘をついてくれたらしいんですけれど、
Good friend, good friend.
戦国が絶滅したらどうするんだ。
家を飛び出し街中を探してくれて、
Aragi.
まったく。で、なんだよ、お前みたいないい子が出歩いていたんだ。ひょっとして昨日の夜電話で言っていたのは嘘で、何か厄介ごとに巻き込まれてるんじゃ。
違う
I'm not a victim.
ああ、そっか、違うんだ。よかった。会にうまいこと言いくるめられて探し物だり
Lay it on thick, Aragi.
頼み事をされて。
ちょっとそのぶってて不意に家を出たくなっちゃったんだよ。
ああ、なるほどねってあるよな。しかし気持ちはわかるが戦国、そうやって逃げていても物事ってのは解決しないんだぜ。なんだったら僕に相談してくれればよかったんだよ。でのそのトラブルってのも。なんだ、まさか怪奇のおまじない絡みか。
違うよ。
戦国、
Oh my god.
別に中学生なんだし、悩み事も困り事もたらふくあるだろうが抱え込むことはねえんだぜ。僕なんかそう。
何か困ったことがあったら抱え込まずに暦お兄ちゃんに相談するようにするね。
とりあえず今日は疲れてるだろうから休めよ。
休めって？
ちょっと待ってろ。
なわさん、大丈夫かな？バレてないよね？口なわさん？
お待たせ。はい、これ寝巻き。今夜は泊まっていけよ。もう遅いし。
どこの部屋で寝ればいいのかな？
僕んちもそんなに部屋があるわけじゃないんだし、ここで寝てもらうしかないんだけど。
暦お兄ちゃんの部屋で、暦お兄ちゃんのベッドで。
まあそうだ。
Everyone that loves Aragi except Senjugahara is getting to sleep in his bed, basically.
ベッドは暦お兄ちゃんが使ってよ。なでこなんてベッドの下で十分だよ。
どういう発想なんだ。怖いよ。
暦お兄ちゃんを差し置いてなでこ一人がベッドで寝たりできないよ。
ああ、いやいや大丈夫。そのベッドなら2人くらい寝られるから。
Yeah!
Vampire punch!
That's my magical girl right there.
危ないところじゃった。
That was
もう
close.
少しで途上例に引っかかってしまうところじゃったわ。さてと、感覚がリンクしておるから気絶させてしまえば問題はないようじゃの。
I like this as like their pre-established bit. This was all planned.
けんのんけんのん、どうにか間に合ってよかったわ。我が主様がうぬに就寝するのもな。わしの次に可愛い。まあ前髪娘よ。今晩はそのベッドで眠るがよ。
What a conversation I never thought would happen between two
このまま
people.
1階に連れて降りてソファーの上にでも寝転がしてください。よく謝る娘じゃの。じゃがどうなんじゃろうの。うぬは悪いと思ってお
I
る
love you, Shinobu.
っておるのか、それともここは場面的に謝る台本を読むように空気を読んで謝
Like
る
you're reading lines off a
ど
script.
ちらなんじゃろうの。だんまりか。それについてはわしが何かを言える立場にはないので黙り込んでいたものじゃしな。
And it, in one lifetime, has Aragi died a Black Hanakawa.
何がおかしいことなどないわい。単にわしは納得したから笑っただけじゃ。ただただブルブル震えておるだけで殺す気がなくなってしまうようなうぬでいいのという。
Oh.
得なんてしてないよ。本当にそうか？みんなが親切にしてくれたりはせんのか？黙っておるだけで失敗しても怒られたりせんのではないのか？それが嫌なんだよ。得じゃないよ。そんなのはただの差別みたいなもので。なでこは困っているとつけてくれたりはせんのかの。揉めていたら勝手に被害者だと思ってくれたりの。
Don't they assume?
ひょっとするとわざと演じておるのかと思っておったでもないようじゃな。つまり天然でその可愛さでその仕草か。天然で可愛い。日本語では何というかうぬは知っておるか？答えていいんじゃぞ。わからないよ。凶悪魔性じゃよ。はいよりもよっぽど妖怪じゃという話。いやいいんじゃよ。すまん言い過ぎたわい。このわしともあろう者が一体何を言っておるのやら。
To a mere human.
そのまま生きてる。 わしの知ったことではないわ。そのまま生きてそのまま死ね。そうやって一生暦お兄ちゃんに心配してもらう。よかったな、たまたま可愛くて。
Holy shit.
If you weren't cute, this life would not be what you were able to be living. You wouldn't be able to get away with what it is that's happening.
Go ahead living your entire life making Kiyomi worry about you. 12 minutes ago, you're not telling him so he won't worry about you, right?
Let's go with that.
Yeah. Are you giving other people the respect that they deserve or the consideration that they deserve by approaching a situation and handling it like Nadeko is?
No. You know, I thought that my relating to her would be a one-off from the first episode of getting her again, and I feel like now I just want to burn the whole house down.
Okay, that was Monogatari, second season, episode 13.
Yep, oddities are trying to kill AutoSave discussions, because now both of us are sick.
A little bit.
Not just this one. This part of AutoSave as well.
Yeah. We took a few hours after we watched the episode because we both started to feel a little sick, so apologies if we have some cuts from sniffling or anything like that. We'll try our best. But talking about the episode, okay? It was a lot. Nadeko's the class rep. I didn't think that that was going to be the case, especially considering her disposition. But it makes a lot of sense in hindsight because of her disposition and what it actually is that she would be the class rep.
That no one else raised their hand. No one was like openly volunteering for this role. And it just got put on her with the possibility that it was because she was the only one that didn't directly... She was a subject of some of the charms, but she wasn't one that went out and sought the charms herself.
Yeah, she didn't directly have that charm connection with Kaiki.
Right.
And because of that, we see, you know... Now that we're bringing it up, I actually want to pull up a timestamp and get your interpretation of this moment.
Okay.
So this is when Nadeko is having a conversation with the snake. Obviously, it seems like the only person who can hear the snake is Nadeko herself.
Thank goodness.
Which is reiterated in the episode. And I also want to take a moment to say that in the middle of the episode, I wrote down VA for snake, right? It sounds like Bondrude from Made in Abyss. That's where my mind immediately went. It's a very distinct, haunting voice. And we should keep that in mind for future episodes because it's disturbing as shit, especially if you've seen
if it was the
Made
same...
in Abyss.
You're right.
Yeah, so that kind of carried some emotional weight with me, even though there are a lot of things that the snake says that I don't think are inherently bad and more so a reflection of Nadeko and how that could tumble into what will become of Nadeko. But the timestamp that I wanted to bring up is when the snake stops talking and Nadeko refers to why he might have stopped talking as he might have taken the hint.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to try to get a read for that. Also, this kind of looks like snakes, does it not?
The staircase, yeah.
Isn't that the mighty homeroom teacher's job? Well, yeah, it is. I guess he passed the buck, so to speak. That guy's even worse than me. One glance is enough to tell you that it's not an atmosphere that one kid alone could do something about from the inside. It's not a big deal. It's not a problem for me. I'm fine. I've left it behind already. It's not like I've actually done anything. Neither class rep work, nor what Mr. Sasabu asked me to do. I haven't done anything.
And there's not really a plan to ever do anything, seemingly.
Yeah, I said that and started walking down the stairs. The serpent fell silent. Maybe he took the hint. This is a moment of... this. I could be completely wrong, because I'm kind of just talking as I'm realizing... maybe something. This might have been a moment of profound genius from Nadeko in terms of her own transparency and how she's able to look at herself that I don't think is seen again throughout the entire episode. I think Nadeko is realizing what power she has over other people, and I think the hint is that she is bringing up other things that she agreed to do for people and do on behalf of other people, like agreeing to help the snake find its corpse. And those things that she's agreed to are never getting done. There is no work being done on them. And in bringing them up in this passive-aggressive fashion, if you will, it might be alluding to the snake, like, all right, you might want to be on your toes and not like take too many steps forward, because even though I agreed to it, it might not get done. I might not actually follow through with it.
I totally get your read from it, that kind of she's not going to be getting done with it anyway, and we're taking a hint to the fact that what we ask of her, it's never going to be touched. How I could also read this, which might be similar, is that she gives us lines within this episode and with other conversations with the snake and with herself about when something is posed to her that is difficult or just even a question by anyone else, like almost like if anyone is in front of her asking something of her, she will automatically deem it as difficult and want that person in front of her to disappear. Like, she wants to run away from having any responsibility at all, or any chance of change at all, any chance of maybe even growth at all, connection at all. Like, she is stagnant here. And we can see the snake as somewhat of a projection of her. They keep aligning to be similar. At least the snake tries to tell her that they're similar throughout the first half of the episode. She paints herself like a girl like me is meek and quiet. And at the very beginning of the episode, in front of the lockers, he's like, "Oh yeah, I don't talk either. I'm a really quiet guy." But we get him yapping for like the rest of the episode.
Mm-hmm.
So what we have here with her conversation before she walks down the stairs is almost like seeing a character start to have introspection, or see if the snake is a part of her, then think of a character about to start having some introspection and then shutting themselves down.
Yeah.
Being like, no, he took a hint. The snake took a hint, or a part of you took a hint to shut the fuck up.
Yeah, interesting. So we brought up the actual lines that she said. You see, I'm a meek, quiet, and shy girl. The type of kid people can't really place, huh? Yeah, I'm the type of girl people can't really place. That's me, all right. What do you think my classmates would think if they saw a girl like me talking to her own wrist?
A girl like me. I'm gonna describe myself. I'm going to... she's literally like, these are the boxes I fit in. It's incredibly hard for someone to authentically actually be able to describe the boxes that they would fit in, that other people not only perceive them in, but they themselves perceive themselves in.
Yeah.
And authentically. So it feels super forced. It feels more like these are the boxes that I want people to perceive me in, and or it seems like that's where I'm at and I'm gonna stay there.
Unintentionally, right? Nadeko is unintentionally manipulating so many factors in her own life. Like, everything that's come out of the snake so far, she's acting as if like she's just at the will of the snake and is following commands and orders of the snake. But she's acting as if she wasn't the person who agreed to do that in the first place. Mm-hmm. She was the person who accepted and went along with it. And now we're acting as if it's just happened to us, right?
I feel like there's also an energy of almost inconvenience. Like the snake, like, oh, stop! I can't be talking to my wrist. Stop talking. I'm gonna do whatever you want me to do. I'll find your corpse, whatever. There was never really an emotional response from her, or like not even now, to the fact of how many snakes she had previously killed. When she says yes to him for this favor, she would have said yes to it no matter what, meaning it had nothing to do with her own, like, she's not reflecting in her guilt.
Yeah.
It might have had to do with her guilt deep down, but she's not sitting in her guilt to us, like, through her dialogue. She's not in trying to atone, you know what I mean? Like, she's not, oh, okay, I'm so sorry, Snake, like, I'm trying to help you out. I'll go out right away and I'll look for it, and she's more just like, hey, Snake, stay in line, especially while we're at school, and I'll do whatever the fuck it is that you're asking me to do. But that seems to almost, when you talk like that, like, okay, yeah, I'll do the favor you ask me, it's a lacking of an emotional desire or energy toward actually doing the favor for someone that you might feel any sort of sympathy, pity, or guilt toward. Even if we're getting the idea, I think, from the previous episode, that she does feel guilty.
We also got her looking for the actual corpse, digging in the sandbox, and when we were walking, we get the vibration, and we're using the term malfunction as one of like the errors that we're getting. But I love that we're stressing that, okay, we've looked long enough, and then we go back to build an entire beautiful
Sand
artwork.
sculpture,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm glad that Araragi came looking for us, and I was wondering how that was going to be explained and how Araragi would know. I love the idea that Nadeko's mom called and Araragi overheard and immediately took it upon himself to try to find her, regardless of what it could be, the reason of it. And I'm glad that even after finding her and sitting her down, he kind of pushes her again, as like, what's actually going on, right? And we get Nadeko's like impromptu truth, quote unquote, of what could be a legitimate excuse for this, but is just another deception. But I'm bringing this up to give Araragi his flowers, man. I feel like, yeah, Araragi isn't there yet. Araragi didn't say like, oh, what's that white scrunchie on your wrist? Is that an oddity? But I feel like he's really like establishing himself as like the next in line to Oshino Meme. You know, he's really showing up, and I feel like he's just getting better. I have in my notes, his diagnostic skills are improving.
Right. I think that we have Araragi as a character, yes, that mostly of what we've seen of him is able to help people deal with oddities, but before oddities really entered the picture for him, he is painted as a character that is similar to his parents, that police officer, that idea, that constantly looking out to help other people. So it seems like this character just has an innate ability to understand when something is maybe just a little off with someone, not necessarily that what's going on with Nadeko has anything to do with oddities, but that something's off. This is a character and a person. I don't even think it needs to be someone that he feels like he knows on a deep level. I feel like he just has some sort of innate ability to feel when there is something off about someone, and he can do anything to help. He never really knows exactly what it is that could be helpful, but he's like, if I just move with the desire to be helpful, then we're just gonna hope that it pans out and is actually helpful.
Yeah. Okay, so I want to start getting into Shinobu's fucking beatdown of Nadeko, and I don't think it intended to be at first. Obviously, the biggest beatdown in the episode was Vampire Punch on Araragi, which was just fantastic. I said it during the reaction, and I don't necessarily think it's factually the case of it being like a pre-established bit between the two, but with Araragi being aware of Shinobu's knowledge of what he does and what he thinks, it feels like it's almost expected in a certain way. And I feel like Araragi might be unintentionally tagging Shinobu in here. You know what I mean? So I'm going to start reading through some lines of dialogue that Shinobu has to Nadeko, and very early on, I'm going to make a point to say, this is when Nadeko is lost. And this is going to take me down a decently long tangent that I'm apologizing for.
Okay.
To preface, I had brought up in last episode wanting to try to think about the Venn diagram between Nadeko and Hanekawa.
Mm-hmm.
And I was planning, hopefully, to do that once this, story ends with Nadeko, because that's where I assumed it was going to be going, but I fear that I was terribly wrong. And I think that I will do a mid-job at explaining myself, but I will try to explain myself. All right, here we go. Don't worry about my master. I'll take him downstairs and put him on the couch or something. A very nonchalant, like, don't worry about it. Like, I'm not putting myself out by doing anything, right? We're on equal terms. We're just talking back and forth. And Nadeko is completely in her head and says, it's just me. I don't want to cause a problem. And she's spiraling in her head where Shinobu isn't asking her to, and being like, oh, now Shinobu has to do all this extra work and put Araragi somewhere else, and this is all my fault. So then she begins to apologize and says, I'm sorry. Shinobu's like, you apologize a lot. And she says, but I'm not sure if you're apologizing because you think you're in the wrong, or whether you're doing it because the situation calls for it. I believe this was Shinobu's branch this was Nadeko's time to grow in the way that Hanekawa did. But it does not go that way. So I'm going to come back to this, right? Shinobu says, like you're reading lines off of a script. I wonder, I really do. And there's just a glaze over. Silence, huh? This is the point I think Shinobu realizes this is not a Hanekawa case. This is not a person who is going to be able to self-actualize and realize and be introspective, right? And try to grow and realize their own faults. She goes on to say, well, I suppose I'm not one to talk. I spent quite a while staying mum just like that after all. I simply laughed because I came to an understanding. Just by trembling like that, you make one all intent to kill. You sure are privileged, is what I was thinking. The sweat drips off of Nadeko's face. I'm not privileged. Don't people act all nice to you just because you stay silent? Don't people think you're smart just because you stay silent? Don't you get away with whatever mistakes you make? That's not privilege. It's pretty much discrimination. Don't they assume you're the victim in case of a dispute? I thought that maybe you were acting like that on purpose, but it seems I was mistaken. In other words, you're a natural airhead, and you don't have to put in any special effort to be that cute and make those gestures. By the way, do you know what people like you are called in Japan? Just silence from Nadeko. You can answer me. I don't know. Evil. Enchanting. I love that so much.
When you put it on someone else, the person you're speaking to specifically, to come up with a word based on anything previously you've said. And what that is Nadeko again doing what she was called out for doing, which was basically going by a script. What did you think Shinobu was gonna say you were called? And she comes up with the word evil from everything that has been described to her.
Yeah. I'm saying you're more of a monster than oddities are. Actually, forget about it. Forgive me. I went too far. What in the world am I saying to a mere human? Live like that and die like that. Go ahead and make Kiyomi worry about you your entire life. Good for you that you just happen to be cute. Oh, God damn it. Okay, so to go back to my point, right? And to feel like this was the time that Hanekawa, the path that Hanekawa took might have been lost on Nadeko, and I'm terrified. I was originally thinking that we could bring up in that Venn diagram of Hanekawa and Nadeko, I was going to approach it with comparing Araragi's involvement in the two of them. And Araragi was very involved in the Hanekawa plot that we got with the tiger. And in a lot of different ways, right? Obviously, there was a lot of perspective that we got from Hanekawa, but I wanted to compare and contrast that to how involved and overly sure he's trying to be in Nadeko's case. But what I didn't expect was the deviation in this episode. Both of them have bottled up emotions. Both of them have bottled up secrets about their life. They're acting normal. They're acting fine. They're taking on more responsibilities as somebody would do if they are normal and fine. And this is where it happens. Hanekawa took accountability. Hanekawa, at this point, realized, holy shit, you're right. I am portraying myself as the victim here. Took responsibility, tried to understand what the oddities are trying to point out in her own self and in her own life, and make a change. Nadeko is almost doubling down here. I remember the Senjigahara conversation that she had with Hanekawa and how brutal that could have been interpreted and taken. But what Hanekawa did with that conversation is vastly different with what I fear that Nadeko is going to do with this conversation. Mm-hmm. I think that Nadeko is going to use this and I think a lot of this is easily put together because we already get to see what happens in the future and see the showdown between Shinobu Araragi and Nadeko. But I think Nadeko is going to use this as just added napalm fuel to feel herself as the victim and try to merge and become one with what the snake is offering for her. Mm-hmm. And that's terrifying. I think it comes down to the maturity and lack of maturity in Nadeko compared to somebody like Hanekawa. Hanekawa was more self-aware, and because of that, I fear that Nadeko is just going to get worse and worse, and I don't know if there's a coming back from it within this arc.
Right, so Hanekawa, yes, she was...
That was my TED Talk, sorry.
She was self-aware, but I would say something that's maybe a little more pertinent here, because you don't necessarily have to be self-aware at first in order to start on the path of growth, because this conversation alone of being kind of called out could have awoken that for you. You didn't have to do it yourself.
Exactly.
Hanakawa claimed the things that she realized once she realized them. When she is having a conversation with the sisters about love and she realizes that what she's feeling is envy, she claims it.
Mm-hmm.
She says, I am feeling envious. Something that is a negative, sinful emotion to feel. I am claiming it. I own this. This is my responsibility. And she is also able to identify in other people the things that she is lacking. She is able to be jealous of Senjigahara and Araragi and how much they have grown into themselves, how they're able to live in their lives, and how she does not see that she is doing the same things that they are. And she wants to be able to be equals with them. She sees in them things that she wants for herself, that she's able to then, because she's seeing it and because she's feeling jealous, able to identify what the path is for her. That is what I want. How do I get there? I want my friends to love me, see me as an equal, and I want to be able to stand on my own 2 feet next to them and feel proud of myself. And she's able to set forth for herself some stepping stones to get to that point. And Nadeko is hearing these things, and like you said, the doubling down. We have had 2 episodes now of her saying how much she hates the things that we are learning she actually partakes in and is. Last episode we get that how much she hates the victim mentality, how much she hates that, and she kind of shuts down her thoughts within her own head that seem like she's going down the path of playing the victim, but she's like, no, I hate that, no. And then here, there's the line on the screen, she's not listening. She wouldn't listen to Shinobu here. She doesn't want to claim the things that she hates. That she doesn't want to be able to, as Hanakawa said, oh, I'm envious, that's sin. I'm claiming that. I'm taking responsibility. That is me.
She can't break her own ego.
Right. She's like, oh, all these things that Shinobu is describing here, I hate all of that.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Okay, you hate all of that. So what it is she's hating herself, but she is unable to claim that the things that she's hating about herself are really there and that she does hate herself. She's doing a lot of gymnastics here in order to avoid what she needs to do and what she needs to be focusing on.
Did you feel like last episode when we were taking a step into Nadeko's victim mentality, it felt like you seemed like it resonated with you in our last discussion.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any, like, did this deviate it for you? Is it going down the same path, or is it like, where do you stand with it now? Like,
so that's a really great question. I've said before in discussions for other things, like obviously last discussion I brought up health issues that I had experienced, and in other discussions I had brought up some other things that around that time period in my life I had gone through, like some bullying and some other like mental health struggles, and just a fear I gained of looking into myself and looking at other people. And I feel like at the moment I'm still feeling really emotional through watching this, and I think I said right when this episode ended that I wanted to like burn the house down. But I feel like what I'm coming into is a question to myself of how would I have felt if I had watched this a couple years ago? Because I will claim that my growth didn't happen until a couple years ago.
So, like, you're saying if while you were, like, exhibiting habits or, like, symptoms of that victim or self-victimhood, and you had watched this, what would your response be?
Like, because here we have Nadeko
That's interesting.
Being confronted by Shinobu. So then if I were to then put myself in this scenario as Nadeko being confronted by Shinobu.
Is this show Shinobu at that point, and would you be Nadeko?
Right. How would I have felt?
Wow.
And I feel like the answer to that question will probably change depending on how the final part ends with Nadeko, how they're gonna kill each other, how everything ends and resolves. If it can resolve in the story, I feel like that will help answer my question. But part of me is like, I probably would have turned the TV off or something, I probably would have stopped watching. I don't know. I feel like it wouldn't have reached me because I had already had these confrontations to myself internally on my own, and they didn't do anything because I was unwilling. It's like it's mental gymnastics.
Yeah.
I was able to see the path, and I was able to know what it was about myself that I didn't like or what I was doing that was wrong, but I was still playing into the victim that it's like, oh, sure, there's stuff you could do better, but you don't have to. You don't have to do anything.
It's a paradox,
you don't have to
man.
hold responsibility for anything. It's just a really fucked up gymnastics. Like, you're almost there. You can almost touch it, but you're able to just move in a circle and avoid it completely. You're able to run away. And I feel like I would either run away from just watching this, or I would have not missed the whole point, but it wouldn't have, I feel like I would have been like Nadeko here, where it wouldn't have done what we're saying it might have done if this conversation happened to another character in this show.
I could see somebody, like, how Nadeko's taking it, right? You could be in a situation that somebody is perfectly describing to you, but with the amount of mental gymnastics or delusion that you could be under at the moment, you would never think that that would apply to you, even if it's a perfect description of what is you, you know?
I was like a fucked up case of like therapist's favorite person, because I was able to figure it all out, but the issue was when I left the session, it's not like I was doing what I needed to do, but I was able to portray myself to someone else when I talked to them as if I was like, wow, you're really impressive how much you're able to look into yourself and introspection and realize about yourself. Oh, this sounds so healthy. But I wasn't actually doing the work when I left, you know?
Yeah.
I wasn't fixing the things that were that I didn't love about myself.
You were saying what you needed to say to be able to prolong what you were doing almost without being intentional about it. It's like unintentionally, you know, just furthering the position that you're in.
Well, I would have said anything to anyone to be able to be told that I was impressive to any degree.
Man.
And what you have to say to a therapist for a therapist to be like, wow, I'm so proud of you, is everything that they want you to actually be learning in therapy regurgitated back at them so they don't have to say it. And then they can be like, wow, you've done a lot of internal work. And then you're like, yes, I actually haven't.
We've
I'm
had
just playing
such
you right now.
contrasting experiences with therapists. Like
I've had good interactions.
I
with
have
therapists.
had probably like 5 therapists throughout my life. And
for short terms,
all of them were awful experiences. And like, god damn, it doesn't sometimes it just doesn't matter what you give to somebody else, you know? They just take it for their own benefit. I don't know.
Yeah, I've had good interactions, but then again, I'm painting this picture where I was reading a script basically with a therapist to make them think I was doing a good job in therapy.
See, that's where
So is that a good experience with a therapist? I don't know. They ended up being more like a family member to me or a friend and not like a therapist.
That's where I think my fault came in. I didn't, and always has, like in terms of therapy, like I never wanted, like I went to them for genuine help and like not like, oh, in your case, right? Like I was like, okay, I am a really fucked up case. I'm laying it all on the table and I'm being extremely vulnerable. Please help me. And it was always like, oh, it's probably your adoption kid. Like, come on. And like, we're not even talking about emotions or why I feel this way or that way. If we're just pigeonholing what you're, I don't know.
Oh,
man.
Interesting. So yeah, I don't think I ever went authentically like, hey, I have this thing and I need it fixed. If anything, I was like, these are the things that are wrong with me and I know that they need to be fixed and these are the things that I've already done in order to fix them. And then the therapist is like, wow, what an amazing session. This is so amazing. I didn't even have to say anything to you. You're right. All of those people have been mean to you.
It makes me uncomfortable talking about myself. I'm gonna go on and talk about Araragi real quick. Do you think okay, I saw this as direct growth of Nisemonogatari in how Araragi handles Nadeko this episode.
Okay.
there was discourse about what order we should be watching Monogatari in, and before we started the series, we had a poll to see which order we should watch it in, and we're watching it in Crunchyroll's recommended order, and I believe that other people wanted us to watch it like in terms of release. I don't know if that's what we're watching it or not, but or in terms of like light novel or manga release, whatever that discussion may be. And so I might be wrong in thinking that this comes directly from growth from Nisemonogatari, but in how Araragi was dealing with his sister's issues and kind of not giving them the respect that they might have deserved because they're just his younger siblings and they're just kids. That's not how Araragi deals with Nadeko this episode. He completely legitimizes the fact that she can be dealing with real struggles and real feelings and problems, and they should be talked about. He, even if it's not an oddity, he says, you can come to me and talk to me about these things. You should have. And I am like astounded and so proud of Araragi for that, and it feels like just the next logical step of character growth within his, you know, person from Nisemonogatari.
Right. And we've gotten kind of with this series, Monogatari second season, this part of it has been this look at Araragi where he exists not as he's not a side character, because obviously we've had so much content of him, but in this part of Monogatari in particular, he is a side character. He's not, the protagonists are the girls that we were following for their couple of episodes to really get a glimpse into their heads. Before, we got glimpses of them and what they were going through the eyes of Araragi. And here we have them like genuinely interacting and dealing with the oddities in a way that is, in the same way, it's somewhat of like a biased narrator, like Araragi would have somewhat have also been, because you can never just believe wholeheartedly what a person thinks of whether someone else's scenario or their scenario, because this isn't narrated by like an all-seeing, all-knowing, all-understanding person. But it's just a really amazing picture to really get to be like, now we actually know fully Nadeko in a way that I feel like I never would have thought. It's not like I didn't think Nadeko's story was deep. I just feel like this is a lot deeper than, like, I saw Hanakawa's story and I thought, this is deep and we're gonna get a lot more of this and there's a lot that needs to be resolved here. Nadeko, I was kind of like, well, what are we gonna do with her? Is it gonna be dealing with how other people view her? Like, she's still being treated unfairly at school. People are still trying to curse her at school. Is that what we're gonna be dealing with? And I think it's because I forgave her unconsciously, subconsciously, for the killing of the snakes, for anything she might have done in her story. I, as a viewer, I ran away from it. I pushed it to the side, possibly intentional in terms of writing.
Yeah, I feel like an episode ago I was like, I feel like I might get pissed off at Nadeko, and I think that's pivoted to me being terrified of Nadeko. I think that when you're the Nadeko in this episode, what's gonna happen after that Shinobu conversation is that everybody in your life is going to become your enemy now. You are going to be extremely defensive and delusional within that defense because it's based off of a reality that nobody else lives in. We've tried to wake you up from it. You're incapable at the moment of waking yourself up from it and getting out of it. Therefore, the snake is going to be your best friend and everybody else is going to be the villain. And that's a very scary place to go for a bird's eye view of a person, because then it seems like they're just on a train going straight into a brick wall. Like it reeks of like explosion, or implosion maybe is a better word.
Okay, yeah. I think that, at least from my own personal experience, I feel like what is needed is something that is like an implosion or an explosion, and it doesn't have to be loud and huge in the way that people might expect when you hear the words implosion or explosion. You might expect like big clouds, big noise, big sound.
I
big
think that's what
feelings, like,
Nadeko is going to do. That's why she's different from you.
that's why she's different from me.
Yeah.
Well, I
you're
feel
better.
like that's that sort of thing is expected, but what I'm trying to say is it's not going to. It won't always look like how you might expect that to look like. It's more, in my mind, I view it probably as like a domino thing. Like once one of them is just like a really heavy domino, it's just like even a breeze could blow it over. Like it just, once that happens, then everything else can fall, and everything else can then fall into place. But it's like it takes something that is able to implode her denial to look deeper into herself.
So you're saying like what will happen for, like, what will it take for her to look into herself? I'm saying that after what Shinobu said and left the room, Nadeko is like the Titan submarine and is just going down and down.
Even though people have been like, hey, you probably shouldn't be going down there.
Everybody else is going to be her enemy now. Everybody who tried to help her is now going to...
I don't deny that.
Yeah.
I think that's also realistic to
Yeah.
if someone else was in her case. And it's gonna take something huge that other people, that is subjective.
I just don't know what it looks like in an arc of Monogatari, right? Like, if before this episode, I would say, okay, this will be 3 or 4 episodes, and by the end of it, there will be a positive resolution with Nadeko as we got from Hanekawa. Because of this episode, I don't believe that to be the case anymore.
I agree with
and
you.
because of this episode, if there is a falling out or implosion, I don't know if there will be a introspective result following shortly after that. I don't know.
Right. I think that if anything, there will be consequences, and the only hope that you can have as a viewer or as a person who might know someone like this is hope that those consequences, even though you don't want them to have to deal with consequences because you probably care about them, your hope would be that only their own consequences can then help them at that point. And Nadeko's consequences could be that Araragi is dead, and she will then have to, well, obviously I don't feel like they're actually going to kill Araragi, but it seems like the venom definitely does something to him, and it seems like they're gonna have to kill each other. And I don't know what they would actually do with that in this story, because I don't imagine either of these characters actually dying, but maybe that's me being naive.
Man, I love what we do. Like, it's a little bit like raw and could be very embarrassing, and it, like, you could look at it from that perspective of, I'm going to sit down and try to completely immerse myself into whatever I'm watching, and I'm going to probably not, like, 6 times out of 10 or read too far into something and misread something. But it makes me even if it comes from nothing, which I don't think it does in this case, it ends up breeding such a fruitful or deep conversation, or something that at least isn't surface level. And I think that's fair to say. And I love that. I'm really appreciative of that. And whether I read too much into a toothbrush going into a mouth in Monogatari or not, this show has definitely offered in this arc and others something that I don't know. I'm so glad that we do what we do for it.
I'd agree. I feel like it's someone who wants to create something, whether that's an anime, a manga, a book, a painting, a piece of artwork hanging in a museum. 9 times out of 10, they are totally okay with you feeling whatever it is that you feel, bringing your own story, emotions, and everything to the table when you are viewing or having an immersion into their work. They would be flattered by that. They would be happy by that, even if there is a possible misunderstanding of something within the work. Like, oh, that's not actually what I was talking about in the painting. Like, no, that's fucking pretentious. Like, let people bring to the table their own experiences, and if they still love your work and are able to get something out of it that's fulfilling to themselves, like, that's beautiful. And to think that every single person is gonna get exactly the same thing out of something is a little bit absurd to think.
I will always want to know what the creators or artists' feelings and intention was when they created a work, or what they hoped the reception would be and interpretation of it would be. I put that at the highest point of like in my like reception to it. Like I put that higher than just anybody's interpretation of that work. But when you don't have that and you're just staring at it and you can just talk about your own experiences and how you can see your own experiences through that, or wonder what I keep thinking, man, what is the inspiration for some of these characters in Monogatari? Because the character work is so dynamic and so fleshed out that it feels like for each character they had somebody in their life that exhibited these habits that they took and furthered into a character within Monogatari.
Well,
And
that's how I feel.
yeah.
I feel like this had to be a case study. Like that, you know what I mean? Like as I'm watching this. And that's probably, I don't feel that with I can feel that with the other characters, but not in the way that I do here, where I feel like I'm being called out, therefore I think it's a case study and someone specifically inspired this character.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that's all I have for this episode.
I also think that that's all I have.
Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe. We hope to see you next time.